Hey, what's up guys, it's Will here. I was making a video and then my phone went all funny there, so I don't know what's going on, but I'm here for some Bellator 245 and 246 fight predictions, as well as the fights that have just kind of been put together the last few days with the UFC, with a fight that's just been made in the last half an hour there. There's a fighter fell off the UFC card this weekend. So my predictions for UFC Fight Night, Hill v Waterson, are already out. But since then we've had two fights that have been added or put together, and then we, like I say, there was one. Matt Frivola is out of his fight against Roosevelt Roberts. We got Kevin Croom jumping in here on 36 hours notice to face Roosevelt Roberts. So I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of those. Like I say, I've got my predictions out for the rest of the fights there, so if you want to check them out, go for it. Jalin Turner against Brok Weaver. Jalin Turner was supposed to fight last week against Thiago Moises. That fight got scratched as Thiago Moises had COVID-19, and then he's managed to pop this back in here. He's jumped in short notice against Brok Weaver, which I think is smart. I think he's a big betting favourite, and I can see why he's a big betting favourite. The real danger is that his chin's a little bit suspect, and that's Weaver's probably best chance of victory is to corral him into a big shot. But to me, Jalin Turner, I think he can be very, very crafty with his length here. He can keep him at distance, keep him at range, pick him apart a little bit, frustrate Brok Weaver. I think he can tie him up a little bit if he wants to. So I've got Jalin Turner pretty convincingly in that fight there. I think that he can win a decision, potentially get Brok Weaver out there if he catches him with the right combination shot. So I've got Jalin Turner to win that one there. Alexander Romanov against Roque Martinez. I've got Romanov, and to be fair, Romanov is like minus 225 here in the UK, which is really, really nice actually for a parlay piece, because what I see from Roque Martinez is he's not the biggest heavyweight, he's quite a big, stout heavyweight. He's only like 5'9", cuts weight to get down to the heavyweight limit. But a couple of fights I've seen against, I think it was Jake Hewen, once he gets put on his back, he's kind of like a little bit like a turtle there. He finds it tough to really get back to his feet. I think Romanov can keep a pace. I think he can take him down. I think he can submit him. So I'm pretty confident that Alexander Romanov can come out here and stop Roque Martinez and get him out of there. So I've got Romanov inside the first couple of rounds. And the fight that's just got made in the last half hour, we've got Roosevelt Roberts against Kevin Croom, who was supposed to fight Alex Caceres a few weeks ago, and he got pulled from the card. I think it was a weight cutting issue or something. So I've no idea what's wrong with Matt Frivola here. But that was for sure an interesting fight between him and Roosevelt Roberts. I know there was a lot of back and forth with bettors on Twitter that have been kind of betting either side there, and it was a closely kind of pick 'em fight, so people were kind of betting on both sides there. But to me, I've got Roosevelt Roberts here pretty convincingly, coming in short notice against the guy that Roosevelt is. Even though that you've got a veteran and someone like Croom, I think it's going to be tough here. I think that Roberts can get him out of there pretty convincingly. So I'll take Roosevelt Roberts to get him out of there inside the distance. So that's my fight picks for the couple of fights for the fights that have kind of been put together the last few weeks here. We're going to jump into Bellator 245 and Bellator 246 and give you some quick predictions of both cards there, which one goes off tonight, 245, headlined by Phil Davis against Lyoto Machida, and then 246 tomorrow night, which has got I think it's the best fight of the whole entire weekend for the Bellator Bantamweight Championship. You've got Juan Archuleta against Patchy Mix. So I'll quickly run through tonight's card. Starting off in the women's featherweight division, you've got Leslie Smith, who's a notable name that you've been watching UFC, you've been watching Invicta for many years. You'll know you'll know her name. Amanda Bell, if you've been watching Invicta, the same through the years, you probably know who she is. She's moved over to Bellator. Amanda Bell's kind of like a 500 fighter. She wins. She's 7-6. Very, very scrappy. Initially, I remember way back when she beat, I think it was Marina Shafir, who had a little bit of kind of credence back then. She beat her when she was like really, really young in her career. Then thought it was going to go on next, and then she kind of got smoked out by Faith Van Duyn. She got smoked out by Megan Anderson, and then she kind of rebounded with Gabrielle Holloway, who fights Kat Zingano. And since then, she's really just been trading wins and losses with some fighters. So coming off a win over Janae Harden, which was a nice win there in the third round, caught with a nice shot, took her out. Leslie Smith, a kind of volume based striker, kind of like a no, I don't want to say she resembles a Diaz brother, but she kind of comes from that credence where she likes to fight long, hit them with long shots, just keep the pace up, the output up. So yeah, she's coming off a loss to Arlene Blencow, which is a little bit not too sure about that. I thought she could have won that fight, but Blencow really actually fought a fairly decent scrap in that one. If any of you guys are in the chat there, if you've got any picks or predictions, let me know and I'll get back to you as I'm trying to go through these fight here. So I actually think that Leslie Smith, her output, can really come through late in this fight and possibly get a TKO. So I'm going to take Leslie Smith, TKO round number 3. Keith Lee against Vinicius Zani. I looked at this when this is a catchweight bout, by the way. Keith Lee, if you kind of look at that surname, you kind of realise where he comes from. 6-3 record. Really maybe starting to put it all together now. He started off pretty badly, kind of 3-3. He was win 1, losing 1, and I think he was fighting kind of experienced guys at that time. But he's really starting to kind of put it all together. I looked at this one very closely because I thought I might actually throw some money on Vinicius Zani, a guy who's got a lot more experience. I think he fought Thomas Almeida. I think he fought one of the Pitbull brothers back in the day. Josh Hill, who's got a lot of experience. But when I looked into it a little bit more, I just think Keith Lee seems to be in his pomp at the minute. He seems to really put it all together. The bet line is like -240. I think that's a little bit high. I'm not entirely sure about that. I think that needs to come down a little bit because Zani has a lot of experience, and I think that he could push Keith Lee here. But ultimately, I'm going to take Keith Lee. I think that he wins the fight. Possibly gets him out there. I think he wins by decision, though. Tyrell Fortune against Jack May. I've got Tyrell Fortune here as long as he doesn't gas out badly. I think that... Like I say, that's the kind of only thing with Tyrell Fortune that I'm a little bit worried about if he gasses out. But Jack May is not really known as someone that's a kind of cardio machine, to say the least there. So he's coming on near 40 years of age. I think Bellator need to try and get Fortune back in the win column here, so I think he wins that one. I think he gets Jack May out there in the mid part of this fight. JRMMA was in the chat there and he's asking about this fight. Rafael Carvalho against Alex Polizzi. Good fight. And Carvalho really needs to try and start getting back in the win column because recently he's not looked great ever since he lost that belt in London to Gegard Mousasi where he got knocked out in the first round. He's not looked that great at all, lost a split to Machida. Now he's losing to good guys, like the last 3 guys have all held belts in massive organisations with his win in between there against Chidi Njokuani, which he won fairly convincingly there. But he's been smoked out in his last fight against Vadim Nemkov. We've seen that Vadim's went on to be the champion at 205. And you've got Polizzi here, who's coming over from the LFA. Honestly, I thought this was someone the UFC would maybe put through the Contender Series, maybe even sign straight to the UFC. 6-0 record. I'm seeing some love for him in the betting line. If that line starts to come down a little bit for Carvalho, where he is -150... in fact, he's -140 here in the UK, -140 in some books across America there. I don't mind the plus money bet on Polizzi if you got it a little bit higher. But like I say, if Carvalho comes down below -140 for me, maybe -125, I think that's something I might have to look at a little bit. So my pick's going to be Carvalho, but Polizzi could really push him here. And from what I've seen Carvalho on his Instagram, kind of looks out of shape, doesn't look in the best of nick. So he might gas out if Polizzi can really start to put it all together here. Like I say, that's a fight to keep an eye on, is Polizzi against Carvalho. I'm going to lean Carvalho, even though I don't think the dog bet on Polizzi is a bad one either. So yeah, go that one there. Moving on, we have Raymond Daniels against Peter Stanonik. And I think both guys, well, obviously you've got Raymond Daniels coming from a kickboxing background. He's a 2-1 record with his only loss coming way back in like 12, 13 years ago in Strikeforce. Stanonik, I think, comes from a boxing background, kickboxing background himself. The Bellator, I keep wanting to say the UFC because I'm not used to doing Bellator predictions, but Bellator, I want to try and keep Raymond Daniels winning. He's got a little bit of name credence in the kickboxing world. He can bring some viewers in. You can put him in good fights, and I mean he's got some beautiful highlight knockouts. You've seen the one where he spun around, caught with a beautiful shot. He is 40 years of age. but I think he should beat Stanonik pretty convincingly here, if I'm being honest with you. So I think he gets him out of here with a kind of pretty spectacular knockout. That would be pretty good if he could do that. Ed Ruth against Taylor Johnson. Ed Ruth, I think, wins this fight. Taylor Johnson's a guy I've picked against before when I picked Andre Muniz against him. Ed Ruth needs to kind of rebound after that loss to Yaroslav Amosov, which is not a bad loss, by the way. Amosov is a beast, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying he's got a bloated out record, and it's this and it's that. Because his record, what is it, 24-0? 24-0. Yeah, that's, and I know he's probably fought some kind of cans along the way, but since he came to Bellator, he's looked very, very good. He lost a very unanimous decision last time out in February. Won a split against Jason Jackson, which I thought was a little bit close. That could have went to Jason Jackson, but we all kind of know where his strengths lie in his grappling. I think Taylor Johnson can be taken down. I think the more slicker striker is Ed Ruth. It's something that he's always tried to get better at is his striking, but his bread and butter is always going to be his wrestling. So I think he should win convincingly here. I think he can take Johnson down. I think he can ride him out, and I think he can win a decision if needs be. Kat Zingano against Gabby Holloway. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I know why people want to bet Kat Zingano, because Gabby Holloway, she's not great, but Kat Zingano is like just not the Kat Zingano that she used to be, and she's like 38 years old. I kind of learned the hard way betting her in her last few fights here when, I mean, it was a little bit of a freak accident against Megan Anderson where she kind of got kicked in the eye, and that was that. And that's coming on nearly 2 years ago since we've seen her from then, and before that it was July before that. So she's not been around all that prevalently in the last couple of years. She's had injuries, she's had body changes that I've seen that things were happening to her body. I think implants and stuff there, she wanted to take them out, and she was kind of scared of what could kind of happen, which is a little bit worrying. She's obviously had the things way back in the past with her husband, what happened there, and she's just old now, and but she's still very, very scrappy, like super scrappy, and she can get someone like Holloway out of there. I've seen some people have hit me up and saying, should I add Zingano to like parlays? Now, I think she opened up in the minus 200 range. If you could get her then you unload the clip, absolutely. But when people are asking me at minus 600 and minus 850, I'm like, guys, it's not even worth it. You seen Agapova a couple of weeks ago, that if shit can kind of go south very, very quickly if you bet numbers like that. It's not good. You're just kind of asking for trouble. Now, I think she should roll here. You look at the resume that Zingano's got going back years ago and saying that she's beat some of the best of the best. That's something you can never take away from the girl. She should win here, but would it honestly could surprise me if Holloway was to like just bust the bubble here and come through as a plus 600, a plus 700 dog? Probably not, but she's tough on herself. She's went to decision with some half-decent fighters. But if Zingano gets in the right position here, she could really put some damage on Holloway. So I'll take Zingano. I'll take her inside the distance. I think she may get a late TKO in the second or the third round. So I will go with Zingano there. So Phil Davis against Lyoto Machida. I'm picking a lot of favourites here, guys. I'm not going to change on this one here. In fact, I'm picking all favourites, which kind of sucks. I was on Zani originally. I think Polizzi, they're two viable dogs, but the rest of them, it looks kind of heavy, in my opinion, of the dog coming through. I've got Phil Davis here. I think that his last couple of fights, he's looked half decent with his wins over Carl Ulbrichson. I think it's Linton Vassell was the other one. Liam McGeary. He's got 2 stoppages out of that. The Ulbrichson one was good where he was really dominant. Ulbrichson's not super high quality, but he's hard nosed, he's tough to get out of there, was decent in Japan and risen. And I mean, he's 2 losses over the last 3 years is to Nemkov, who's got the belt, Ryan Bader, who had 2 belts. So they're not, and that Bader fight was very, very close as well. Machida, 43 years old now. These two fought back in 2013, 2014. Guys have been around a long, long time. And I remember that fight pretty clearly because I think people were crying kind of robbery because Machida outstruck him, and people just seemed to give Davis the fight because he got takedowns in the round pretty much. They just kind of awarded him those rounds even though he really did nothing with the takedowns. He's come into Bellator A win over Carvalho, which was very close, knocked out Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen was really kind of on his way out at that point, and then he lost a very close split to Gegard Mousasi. Phil Davis, his line is right now minus 380 in America. I think he's minus 325 here in the UK. So you could parlay him up. I don't really like going above minus 300, but I think this might not be a bad spot to throw a parlay. I might throw a couple of DJ and just parlays to keep myself interested tonight, and see kind of how they go. But I'll take Phil Davis. I expect him to get a couple of takedowns. I expect him to kind of win the rounds through that and win a decision. But it could end up being close if Machida can stop those takedowns. Machida might be on something. Who knows? He could be on the jungle juice. And he could maybe make this fight close on what it is. But Phil Davis, has to be my pick in that one there. So we're moving on to Bellator 246. Haven't looked into some of these early ones here, so I'll give you just quick prediction. I'll give you just a couple of picks there. I think Daniel Madrid will beat Pat Casey. I think that George Tokos will beat Ty Guerda. I think that one's going to be pretty close though. I kind of watched one fight of each. I kind of know who Ty Guerda is, and I've seen Tokos a couple of times, but it's not one that I really looked into that much, and I wouldn't be betting it anyway, so I'm kind of going to jump onto the main card here. Derek Campos against Keone Diggs. This is a good fight. Campos has got like 32 fights, a lot of experience, knockout power. Keone Diggs is like 7-8-0. And he's a kind of more a decision fighter. Will look for the finish, but ultimately he kind of mixes it up a little bit better. And if he avoids the bombs of someone like Derek Campos, then I think he can really mix in and get some well-timed takedowns. I also think he can land some big shots. He's been there with the best of the best though in Bellator. I mean, Patricia Ferry, like Patricia Pitbull, Daniel Strauss, AJ McKee. I could go on. Brandon Gutz is tough. Derek Anderson is tough. He's been fought Guts a couple of times. Michael Chandler. So he's been in there with some of the best guys. He usually kind of gets beat and stopped in those spots. To me here, I think Keone Diggs is just a little bit too well rounded. As long as he avoids the power shot of Derek Campos, I think that he can win the fight through that. So I will take Keone Diggs to win that one there. Liz Carmouche against Deanna Bennett. I mean, Deanna Bennett's kind of trash. And I shouldn't really say that about a fighter because she's a fighter and I'm not. She would beat the living piss out of me, but she's not great. She has weight cutting problems all the time. She had her opportunity in the UFC, didn't really take the advantage of that. Like minus 600 to me seems like kind of value on Liz Carmouche. I think that she's too hard nosed. She's a hard. I just don't see how kind of Deanna Bennett really beats her, if I'm being honest with you. So Liz Carmouche should roll here. I think she's too tough, too veteran savvy. I think the word there is tough. Too tough for someone like Deanna Bennett. I think she's just better kind of everywhere in my opinion. So I'll take Liz Carmouche for the win there. Moving on, where I am, I got lost there. John Fitch against Neiman Gracie. I actually like John Fitch to win this fight here, even though Neiman Gracie is obviously, you know what he wants to do. I thought he was a little bit unlucky actually. In the, what fight was it? Am I thinking? The Rory McDonald one. No, it was that. I'm thinking about John Fitch. John Fitch, I thought, was a little unlucky against Rory McDonald last time out. That's what I was trying to say there. I think that even though Fitch is, 41, 42 years old, he can still, like, grind with the best of them and be amazing in doing that. And he's been around. He's fought some of the greatest guys in the sport as well. I just don't know whether he wants to mess around on the ground with Neiman Gracie too much, because that's obviously where he wants to be. He wants the fight to be there. And you've got someone like Fitch who will cage grind you up there. He can keep you there for long spots, but he will ultimately look to take the fight to the ground because the opportunity of getting off the cage, it means he's into his striking. His striking's never been great, but where he excels is in the ground, and he can absolutely win this fight if he can get to the ground and not be in positions where he can get caught with submissions. But with Neiman Gracie, you just have to be careful at all times. I mean, he got that draw with Rory McDonald. I do think he probably should have won that one, but he's still beaten. You look at like name value going in the last 5 years: Okami, Shields, Brian Foster, Paul Daly. They are guys that are kind of out the sport, your Okamis and Shields and so on, but they're still named guys, and he can still put a grind on you. So To me, I'm going to take a shot on John Fitch. He was as high as plus 150 earlier on the week. The money has been coming in John Fitch. He's now plus 100. So I'll take him as a dog pick here against Neiman Gracie, but he has to be very careful if this hits the ground. Main event of the night, Juan Archuleta against Patchy Mix. Ooh, what a good fight this is. I literally, for the last couple of hours, I've been watching Juan Archuleta fights. I've been watching Patchy Mix fights. I've known who Patchy Mix is for a long time. I'm a little bit pissed off that the UFC didn't try and sign this guy harder when they had the opportunity to do it, because he, to me, looks like a very, very, very good fighter. If you watch Patrick Mix, or if you haven't seen him, just go on YouTube, UFC Fight Pass, Yoku. You will find Patchy Mix fights and you will see where he excels. His striking's not great. He's big for the division at 135. He's undefeated as an amateur, undefeated as a pro. This guy's a whiz on the ground. You watch his fight with who's the fighter he was against? Tony Gravely. Tony Gravely actually had a good start in that fight, took him down, looked to be in a good position, but Patchy Mix just works on the ground. He gets to positions where he can get those long limbs under your neck. Got back to the feet, got kind of taken down momentarily again, but swept Tony Gravely, and then just got into a choke there where he really just tightened it up. And the guy's got some long limbs, and once he gets those arms around you, he's devastating. He's another one of those guys, once he can get you to the ground and get your back, he instantly goes body triangle, instantly looks for the submission. I think he could hang there for long parts of this fight. Now, you have to remember, massive step up against Juan Archuleta here, who's fought some of the better guys in Bellator, fought for a belt at Bellator, lost against Pitbull, was up a division. Now he's down at his natural weight class where he's been churning out wins there for years, trying to get an opportunity at the title before Horiguchi beat Darian Caldwell, and then Horiguchi had to take let go of the strap there. He's a guy that trains with some really good fighters, your Cub Swansons, your TJ Dillashaw's, fights out of California. Hard-nosed guy, can really kind of do it all. But to me, just when I watch Patrick Mix, I'm just like, his grappling is amazing, and he's got such good submission skills that I think if he spends a long parts of this fight down there, he will find a submission. And I do think that he can win rounds by just that body triangle. Now, actually, it might be harder to submit because he is a far more veteran guy than what some of the guys that he's faced. And saying that, you watch the UK Matoya fight, I think it was, because his last fight for Mix was in Risen, and it was in the boxing ring, to say the least there. And like, Matoya's like legit on the ground as well. He's a very good ground fighter, but you just seen Patrick Mix, once he gets those arms around your neck and gets in a position where he can get you in a guillotine, I'm sure Darce chokes, rear naked chokes. Once this guy, and you can see a number of his rear naked chokes out in the regionals there. If you've seen it, Andre Ewell, he caught with a beautiful one there, and Ricky Bandejas, he caught with one. So yeah, I'm going to go Patrick Mix. He is a minus 150 favourite here in the UK. I think I'm probably going to end up betting Patrick Mix. I think if I feel this confident that he can win the fight. Now, this is 5 rounds. It is a step up against a better guy than he's ever faced before, in my opinion. So you have to kind of take that into consideration. And Archuleta might not be as easy to take down as what previous opponents is, which leaves him on the feet. And you have to think the scrappiness, Archuleta can really maybe win him rounds through that. If he can stop the takedown, keep it in the feet, I do think he is more dangerous, even though Mix uses his length, uses a long jab, uses a teep kick. But that's the thing that I'm kind of worried about, just the scrappiness Archuleta, because that's what he is. He's a very scrappy fighter. But to me, if this fight hits the ground on more than one occasion, I think that Mix will just find a way to get a submission. So I've got Patrick Mix there to win submission. I'll go second round. I think he catches him in the second round. So that's my kind of picks there for Bellator 245, 246, and a couple of UFC fights at the start there. Thank you to the guys that are in the chat there. I saw a couple of messages come through. I do appreciate all. I really do appreciate, like, if you can throw a like on the video, it'd be much appreciated. If anybody's got any comments before I set off here, get them in. We've got obviously Bellator tonight. We've got a UFC and a Bellator card tomorrow. So a full weekend of fights. I'm looking forward to sitting down late tonight and watching some of these ones. I'm going to maybe think about betting John Fitch, even though it might be a little bit of a squeaky one there. But I think I am going to bet Patrick Mix. I'm waiting to see if this money in Archuleta maybe comes in and pushes that. If I could get Patrick Mex like minus 125, I would be in. I think I'm in at minus 150, honestly, because I think there's a little bit of value there. I think he was as high as minus 180 earlier on this week. So, yeah, appreciate you guys for watching me here. Give me some Bellator predictions for a change. Until next week, we'll be back for Covington against Woodley. Dana White Contender Series is always back next week. So until then, all the best, guys. Take care and enjoy the numerous fights we have this weekend. Peace.